Good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Just gonna wait a few seconds for folks to pile in. Yeah, market had a little slip overnight. Starting to recover now. We do have some economic data coming out soon. We'll cover. And yeah, ready for another fun day of trading. I know we had fun with FOMC yesterday. Some of us crushed that upside pop. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. We do have some economic data today coming out in about 30 minutes, or actually less. Initial jobless claims, continuing jobless claims, so that will hold some bearing on the market. Could see some reaction around 8:30. As always, check the news section in our server. There was a few updates overnight on potential mortar shells that were fired over in Ukraine, so we've got that. Let's see, prep. So yeah, if you go look in the server, you'll notice a bunch of news about Russia and Ukraine going on. So go check that out. Go check out the updates, upgrades, downgrades, everything. More and more Russian news keeps coming out, so. Oh, and we also have earnings. Today we have Palantir, Walmart, Fiverr, before the bell, after the bell, Roku, big one, and, I guess Dropbox, and maybe Redfin, but no real interest there. And then tomorrow, DraftKings is kind of the only name of interest, so we have a few earnings to keep an eye on. And yeah, we'll dig right into the market. We had our sell-off before we could get through the 50. Came on down. Since Monday, we've been trying to work our way back up. We had squeezes set in here, fired to the upside, and they just carried us into more squeezes. So basically these just moved up and now are right here, right in the middle of kind of where these lows are, these zones from a couple of weeks ago, and the highs that we rejected in this zone near 4,600. So overall thesis kind of for today is we've got a lot of squeezes coming in together. Basically everything from a 30 to a 2 hour has formed here. Is this the daily or the 4 hour? Yeah, okay, 4 hour weight down here. Daily is going to be a little lower. So we're kind of in the middle of a daily. We've got a 30-minute up to a 2 hour right in the middle, holding us in this zone. Could easily chop around in this zone today. Hitting the squeeze tops and bottoms till one end gives out. We do have a trend line that we've been carrying from the lows to keep an eye on. And let me just move my mic a little bit so it's more in front of me. There we go. So we don't have any audio issues. So we're in this larger zone, 30-minute, couple of supply and demand zones that are stacked on each other. I'll go ahead and step in to a 3-minute, so that we can get some better zones to play off of intraday today. Oh, slow down. Okay, so we are, hovering at the 200 after that overnight drop. We overshot it a little bit just to tap the bottom of these squeezes and this trend line from the lows. Rode that up, and now we're back near these zones and these squeeze tops. Starting to reject already, back to VWAP, right in the middle of all this squeeze action. We'll see how jobless claims go. If it sends us through the trend line near the bottom of the squeeze, at open I'd expect a little pop up to test trend line and the 200 for a rejection to try to fire down. We'll have to see how the jobless claims go, but going to definitely be watching downside, upside as always. And yeah, it's basically, can we hold the trend line and the squeeze bottoms to try to get up to the daily 15 and the daily 21, which are centered right around that 44.90 key level that we rejected recently. So can the trend line and the squeezes give us our bounce to get back to the daily mean, or do we reject before we get there? We also have the daily 8 right here at 44.60. Sorry, I know that's a lot of numbers flying around. 44.60 is the daily 8. 44.85 is the daily 15, and 44.91 is the daily 21. So we just rejected the daily 8 at 44.60. Back down the VWAP we go. So we'll see if we give out this trend line from the lows that we've been holding for a few days. It could accelerate us through these squeeze clouds. First Keltner down right at around 44.05, 4400 psychological level, and we have a daily cloud down here at 43.75-ish. So kind of the up and down thesis. If we can hold, we've got all these moving averages and psychological 4,500 to get through these squeeze tops to try to get back to the 50 and the daily squeeze top way up here. Let's see, we'll look at NQ. Step on out to a higher time frame real quick. All right, update that trend line. So kind of the same story. We do have a trend line from the lows on NQ. We hit it yesterday and bounced off right before the FOMC release. Now we've dropped back to it and are riding it up. So let's see if the trend line can propel us higher. Could slip down to these squeeze bottoms right around 14,445, maybe find support there, or we could continue to hold this trend line and just take off from here to the squeeze top and the daily 15. We are currently rejecting the daily 8, so kind of this ascending wedge going on. Our trend tool has kind of made the wedge for us, so we can see which way it's going to break. The daily 8 is right at the top of this wedge, and Let's see, if we give this wedge out, we'll revisit pre-market lows. This 14,445, these squeeze bottoms. And yeah, if we can hold and get through, 14,667 is a key level in the middle of the squeeze top. We have the daily mean up at 744. The 200 way up at 15,000 and some change. So kind of the same premise. Can we hold this trend line? We will have to see. But we are getting very close to the daily 21. I wouldn't be surprised if we made it to it this week. But any, Russian news blip, it's gonna send us right back down, probably. Kind of the same here. This trend line, if you drew it from the lows on the ruddy, is coming up to this 2050, which is right where the daily 8 and the daily 21 are about to cross over each other. Once we get the 8 above the 21, we're getting more bullish. So, wouldn't be surprised if that little magnet zone around 2050 to 2053 is something we want to go test live to find support before trying to take off to this 2100. We do have these squeeze tops to deal with, and they're getting very tight. So we'll have to keep an eye on the ruddy and which way it breaks. YM. Again, squeeze is getting tight. We can just continue to chop. We are right at a lot of liquidity levels. We're at this support from the lows from a couple of weeks ago. So can this zone continue to provide support? The bottom of the zone is right in the middle of the squeeze cloud, so we could see it go as low as 34,590, 34,600 to catch a bounce back up to and through the means and the squeeze top. But if we do give out the zone and the squeeze here, we have another daily down below. Well, actually, that's a 4 hour, I believe. Yeah, that's a 4 hour. The daily going to be even further below. There you go. So again, in the middle of daily squeezes, right at liquidity, we can just chop here, and these keep getting tighter and thicker. Or we can start to fire back down to some of these, or if we can get through liquidity, we don't have any bad news, we can try to push back to the 50 above. Apple. Yeah, hit first Keltner down, same kind of trend line from the lows that we're at right now, and still stuck in this key zone that I've been calling out for what feels like weeks. This 171 to 172. We are chopped around it so much now that these squeezes have now settled in just outside of them. So we'll have to see. If we don't hold this 171, we're going to go retest 170. If we can hold 171, get back through 172, we're going to go retest 173 and 174. And the first Keltner up at 175 and some change. But watch the trend line start to break. It could add momentum, fire these squeezes down. And our higher time frame 4 hour is down at the first Keltner again at 167. AMD. AMD, made it down to the 200. Drew this trend line as well. It'll connect. So if the wedge breaks and we give out this 114.50 that we've held all week, got above it, held it, came back to it, tapped it, came back to it, and tapped it. They're really defending that level. So if this trend line and that level get out, we could see some momentum take us through the 200 down to the first Keltner down, and the sliver of a squeeze bottom down at 110. If we can hold at 114 and this trend, definitely going to retest 118 and a bid to get back to this 122.5 key level, which is the daily mean. So on a lot of these names, is it a reversion to the mean or a drop back down to lows? Amazon been relatively strong. Have this gap zone that we keep talking about and that I've covered a couple of days ago in prep. We came down through the larger gap zone, hit the smaller support on a trend line. If trend line gives out, back to the daily 21 at 3100. So definitely be watching that put as we're pushing into the top of these squeezes at near 3200. Going to be keeping a big eye on 3100 puts because we could reject the top of the squeeze, fall right to the bottom to get those in the money, hit the daily mean again, and keep going. We do have the daily 50 that we're about to test again. It stopped the earnings pop, even the follow through, and now we're back to it. So right at the squeeze top, that 32.15, let's call it, is where the daily 50 will land today. Could be a great rejection point to come back to test this gap fill zone. If we give that out, we're going to test this 30.12. If we can hold the trend, keep pushing through the 15, through the squeeze top, it could accelerate up to 3,300, this recent high. We also have a Keltner right with the 52. And the next Keltner up is with the 200 up at 3350. A very nice lining up of key things like moving averages and Keltners, providing very key levels to watch those specific strikes because there'll be targets to go test. But we are trapped between liquidity and we could chop around. So check your beast numbers and plan accordingly. Let's see, Facebook probably still getting beat up. Yep. I think I talked about yesterday, if we give up that 16, we're probably heading right down to 10 or 12. Looks like we hit 12. Looks like we could hit 10 today. Still on my no-touch list, but I keep checking in. Google. Finally got through this trend line. And after a slight slip back to the 200, now it's had a nice day yesterday and rallied back. Started the rally and then the FOMC propelled it, kind of the same as Tesla. Fading back to this zone. So we'll see. I mean, Google's not really been trying to lead lately. It's kind of been going the way of the market. So we'll have to see if it wants to step up and lead, hold this zone to try to take off. But we've opened at the top of this zone and we've come back to test it, open in this zone, reject it. About to open in this zone again. So let's see if we can hold the 2730. It would set in a higher low and be a good sign for bullish. If not, whole market's probably going to be slipping and going through trend lines. There will be one here, so you can check. It actually aligns well that trend line pretty much comes up to the bottom of the zone at 2730. So if that gives out, same deal. Microsoft. It's below the daily mean, whereas Apple's above. That's why, for a couple of days I've been saying Microsoft looks weak. It can't really get going. Gaps up with everything. Can't really get going. Yesterday, it had a really nice recovery. It came down hard, back to the 294 and got bought right back up. Now we're back above the 200, right near the squeeze bottom. So I would definitely be looking at longs off of 295, 296 to try to, in a bid to get back to the 300, which is where the daily 8 is, the squeeze top 302, and the mean right around 304. But if we give out this 295 and ultimately this 294, we're probably going to settle back to squeeze bottom, and most of these trend lines are probably giving out to go the same way. Netflix. Oh, sorry, JKCH, I was just looking at the chat, if you're still here. All of these zones that you see are created by one of my indicators that we provide in predicted trades. And it works for multiple, different time frames. So like now we're in a 30-minute time frame. It's setting kind of those candles that are extremes as zones that we're playing off of. And if you step down to lower time frames, it is going to set up slightly different zones at different levels. So sorry, just updating that chat. Okay, yeah, you're still here. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, glad to help. If you have any more questions, let me know. But yeah, on Netflix, we are back above in this zone. The indicator is it's our supply and demand tool that we provide at Predicted Trades. So we are back above this key 293. Every time we've come back, we've held, come back, slip just below, but then right back above. So now let's see if 293 can hold in a bid to get back to 400 and kind of these highs from this strong Monday that we had, 405, before market kind of slowed us and brought us back. Did come down kind of hard yesterday, whereas some names like Microsoft dropped fast and popped the rest of the day. This one kind of slow faded and had to wait for FOMC to save it. So there could be more downside. I'll definitely be watching the 393.5 to see if it gives out. 390. If that gives out, it'll propel us to the squeeze bottom around 385, 383. But if the 393 can hold and we can get through pre-market high, we can accelerate back to 403, the daily 8 moving average, and 408. 408, which is where the daily 15 is, and this Keltner in between. So nice little zone set up here as our target to the upside. Netflix doesn't have lower time frame squeezes, just the 4 hour. So going to have to use this zone for our direction. Oh, NVIDIA. This one's going to be interesting today. So we closed up here at 64, and we're going to open near this key to 58. We have a high and low set from our earnings that now pretty much aligns with the squeeze bottom, the squeeze top, and this zone. Obviously this high is a little bit more, but we do have this resistance in the way. So they expect that something like a 25 to 50 point move on NVIDIA. We got a whole whopping like 8. So this is going to be high on my list today. We've got the squeeze bottom at 250. We've got the squeeze top around 266 in this zone. But if we slip just a little bit into open, we could open around this 257, maybe this 255. Basically, I'm going to be watching the 260s, 265s. I'm going to be watching the 250s, 245s. After an earnings, when they don't make the expected move, what you get is what we like to call premium crush. So today, these closer calls and puts are going to get a ton of premium sucked out of them. Like, I think this 250 put closed maybe around 11. I'd have to go double check, but it's going to get crushed down to what we've seen in the past, our beast numbers. So definitely I'll be watching these 250s, 245s, maybe in the 255s with the beast number. I might even have some orders out on the 250 right near beast when it opens, because it can open and wick the beast zone when it has gone basically nowhere, and they crush premium. They kind of have targets already. That's what the beast zone provides. So, going to be watching the 250s, might even place a feeler for open. Going to be watching the 260s, 265s, which is basically back where we close and filling the gap. Going to put a little feeler on that around beast for open. But key focus today. Let's just step in for a second to see. Yeah, here we go. A few more zones to play with. So we are trapped between these two zones. And yeah, if we open around this 258, I'll be throwing one out on the 250s, maybe the 255s for a retest of that, since we are closer to the low from earnings. And also going to be watching the zone around 263 and 265 squeeze top. So yeah, on to the next. Oh, and I think we're just in time for our reaction from Jobless. Let me see, sorry. I was looking at something else. Let's go to, where's next? PayPal. Oh no, I'm not going to cover PayPal. I'll cover the Qs. Kind of the same story. Going to be opening right around 355. Going to be watching the 350 puts, the 360 calls. 360 is right around the daily mean as well, and these squeeze tops. And yeah, I'm going to be watching for which one gets near beast first, and since we are in this downtrend, basically coming to a wedge with the uptrend we've had, this downtrend from yesterday. So see which way we break. We do have this pre-market high to watch around 256 and this first squeeze top. And this zone around 352. And our next zone, which does get us down near 350. So I'm not necessarily looking for this to break down, something crazy. But 350 could just be where we wick down to find support before continuing higher. But we could hold this 352 and just take right off. And I'll be watching the 360s as the target for the daily mean and the mean reversion. Roku. Had a strong Monday with Netflix, gave it all back. And now we're near the bottom of these squeezes. So let's see if we dip down to 158 and maybe as low as 156 to find some quick support. We also have the daily 15 at 159, so we could just hit that 158, 159, and then get going back to 165 and the daily mean. So I'll be watching the 165s. If we can't hold the 158, we'll revisit 155 most likely. SPY. It was a bit of an uneventful morning. It was a short play to open, then hit some longs, planted some seeds for FOMC. You know, I basically had this squeeze cloud to know that if we fell outside of that around 2 to 215, then it would be a nice down day. But we wicked and held and popped. Up we go. So hit some calls, planted some seeds there, 445s and the 4450s on SPX, which it's worth just looking. These 4450s with our beast system, they open around our zone, rejected and fall to our major buy zone, our beast zone, settle near the top, a quick pop down to the bottom. This is that 2 o'clock wicking the bottom one more time and then taking off. And in 1 3-minute candle, look, wicks the bottom, hits our next target, comes all the way back to get picked up one more time. Off we go, hits our next target, back for support, next target, back for support. This is what we provide at Predicted Trades. These levels were predicted days ago. If we zoom out, they started a couple of days ago. And yeah, provide amazing trades, knowing exactly where to risk off of and where it could be going to. But back to SPY. We've got this squeeze bottom around 442. We've got the top starting around 447 all the way up to 448 where the daily mean is. So I'm going to be watching 447, 448s for Friday's expiration. I'm going to be watching 442s, 440s on the put side. And we'll have to see. We have the same support trend line from the lows. We have our trend line from the highs. See which way the wedge breaks and track the beast to see which way he's guiding. Tesla. Kind of more let's see, we don't have the cleanest trend line because we had such a dramatic pop. But yeah, I guess if you connect these lows, it's basically going to be getting you around here. So kind of the same trend line. Tesla's been fun this week. You know, it hit a zone we knew it would reject. We played the 850 puts for some good profit. Locked those up when it didn't continue to our next target. Yesterday did not hit the put side, but once it held and came back, put some risk on the call side for a great trade on the 950s. I think we even had some members play the 925s so that they could get in the money, and they did get in the money. So rejected the pre-market high. Now we're back on this trend line, so let's see, can Tesla get back above this key in 918 and push off of it to get back through these highs, and 930, the squeeze top. If 918 is resistance, we could easily drop back to other key levels. The daily 8 is starting to line with that 908, and the daily 15 is at the squeeze bottom around 900. So we're going to be watching the 800s, the 875s. Starting to step up my strikes, right? We have a target down here at 875. 850 is just starting to get a little too far to allocate risk. Moving into Thursday and Friday. And to the upside, going to be watching the 930s, 950s, maybe the 70s. And yeah, I think that covers all the names. So hopefully this is helpful to everyone. Good luck today. Oh yeah, we wanted to check in real quick. It's looking around, I'm not seeing much of a reaction. Let's zoom in a little bit. There we go. Alright, 8:30. Yeah, basically no reaction so far to the economic numbers. I mean, we had a bigger reaction when we hit the squeeze top and got near these recent highs, so looks like little to no reaction. We're already down so much. And I guess we can say at least that the economic data is not pushing us higher right now. So we'll see. Let it digest. Let things settle since we are back down with the gap. But we're not down too terribly much, right? We're only about... Come on. There we go. Yep, only down about 0.5% on the indices, so we'll see how the day goes. Good luck to everybody. We'll see you in chat. And if you're new, please visit our website and come join us at Predicted Trades. Have a good day.